Hi, everybody. This is Mrs. Pearson, your elementary ELL teacher. Today we're going to preview Chapter 15 of Bud Not Buddy by talking about important words or vocabulary, characters, and setting for the chapter. And we're going to write down words and phrases 1 to 10. So for this lesson, you will need a pencil and a piece of paper or journal page. And you're going to divide the paper into 3 equal parts or thirds. And then you're going to write numbers 1 to 10. So if you don't have a pencil and paper with you, push pause, get your materials, then write numbers 1 to 10. And when you're ready to join me, push play. So after you write the vocabulary word or phrase, in the next column, you're going to write a synonym. And a synonym is a word that means the same or similar. For example, combine is a synonym for mix. They mean the same thing. And then in the third column, I want you to draw a quick picture or sketch to help you remember the word and what it means. So here is our learning target. I can use pictures and context clues to help me understand important words and phrases, including descriptive language, from Chapter 15 of Bud Not Buddy. Success criteria. That means how will you know you're successful at using pictures and context clues to help you understand the words and phrases from Chapter 15 of Bud Not Buddy? Well, here are our steps to success. I will, number 1, write down each vocabulary word or phrase. Number 2, I will write a synonym or short definition for each word. Number 3, I will listen and follow along to each quote from the chapter and look for the vocabulary word or phrase. And number 4, I will go back and draw a quick sketch for each word. So let's go over some descriptive language or figurative language, different types. The first one is simile, and that means you compare using the words like and as. So here's our example. He was as fast as lightning. Metaphor. That is to compare without using like or as. And here's your example. The chameleon was a ninja. Then we're going to look at personification. Personification has the word person in it, and that means giving animals or objects human qualities like a person. The donut was calling my name. And then here's idiom, a different meaning than what is said. He was feeling blue. So again, a type of figurative language is simile. A simile is a comparison of two things using the words like or as. So his face lit up like a light bulb when he figured out the math problem. So number 1, you're going to write how Bud describes Herman E. Calloway. So write Herman E. Calloway, and then you're going to say Herman E. Calloway was, and Herman E. Calloway looked. You can choose one or both of those. And here's our quote. The door banged open, and Herman E. Calloway stood there, puffing and puffing like the big bad wolf. Only with his belly, it looked like he'd already eaten the 3 little pigs. I wasn't too worried because I could see the toes of Miss Thomas's shoes in the doorway. So Herman E. Calloway was huffing and puffing like the big bad wolf. So you can choose to write that. Herman E. Calloway was huffing and puffing like the big bad wolf. And then Herman E. Calloway was like the big bad wolf, looked like he had eaten the three little pigs because of his big belly. So Herman E. Calloway was huffing and puffing like the big bad wolf, and Herman E. Calloway looked like he'd eaten the three little pigs. And those are both similes because they have the word like. They are comparing Herman E. Calloway to the big bad wolf, and they're using the word like. And they're comparing Herman E. Calloway to having a belly that looked like he'd eaten three little pigs. So listen closely. Personification has the word person in it, so that gives you a clue. Personification is giving human qualities to a thing or idea. And again, it has the word person in it. The sun was peeking through the clouds. The sun was acting like a person or a human. So let's write about snooping around. Snooping around is the phrase. And what does that mean? Spying, going through another person's things without permission. So that's a phrase that means snooping around means spying, going through another person's things without permission. The door wasn't even done shaking from being slammed so hard when it jumped open again. Herman E. Calloway pointed a finger at me and said, "And you better not do any snooping around this room or anywhere else in this house. I know where every single thing belongs, and I can tell right away when something's missing. I've got little secret bells all over everything, and when something's stolen, the bell goes off, and only I can hear it. So watch your step." So Herman E. Calloway told Bud, "No snooping around, or no spying, or no going through my things without my permission." And and Herman E. Calloway also slammed the door and it jumped open. And the door jumping open is personification. So make sure that you write the phrase snooping around, which is spying. And then remember, when you give something that's not human, human qualities, or when they act like a person, it's called personification because the door slammed and then it jumped open. All right, number 3, Bud Caldwell was, so you need to write Bud Caldwell was, and listen to how he describes himself. "Shucks. Nothing makes you want to pee in a pool more than when someone who thinks you're stupid telling you not to do it. And nothing makes you want to steal something more than having somebody who doesn't even know you're honest telling you not to steal." Herman E. Calloway didn't have to worry. I was a liar, not a thief. The only thing I'd ever stole was food out of someone's garbage can. So Bud describes himself as not stupid and honest. He does not steal. And he also describes himself as a liar, but not a thief. So he tells lies, but he's not a thief. So you can write 1, 2, or 3 ways that Bud describes himself. Bud was not stupid. Bud was honest. He does not steal. And Bud was a liar, not a thief. So listen closely. Here is a quote from the chapter 15. I wanted to climb under the covers to see what it felt like to sleep with two sheets. But before I could even move, whoop, zoop, sloop, I was sleeping like a dead man. So Bud Caldwell climbed into the bed, and before I could even move, he was sleeping like a dead man. And that is a simile because it's comparing how he was sleeping to being like sleeping like a dead man. So here's two pictures. Look closely at them. What do you notice or see in one or both of the pictures? So you can say, I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I notice an emoji that looks like he's going to get into trouble. In the second picture, I notice a boy who's making some bad decisions. So, how are these pictures the same or similar? They both? Well, they both show scamp. If you remember, this is a vocabulary word from a previous chapter. Scamp means a troublemaker or a child who causes trouble. So the word is scamp. A synonym or a word that means the same is troublemaker or a child that causes trouble is the full definition. And here's our quote. You've got the rest of them fooled, but not me. There's something about you that I don't like. I'm going to find out what your game is, and you believe me, scamp. You're going back where you belong. Herman E. Calloway. So he was talking to Bud when he called him a scamp or a troublemaker. So the next picture, and I'm sorry I had those out of order. Look at these two pictures. And first of all, what do you notice or see? What do you notice about one or both of these pictures? I notice. Well, in the first picture, I notice it looks like someone who is spying or going undercover. And in the second picture, I notice someone is looking and going, So, how are these pictures the same or similar? They both, well, they both show suspicious. 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 So, suspicious means having a cautious distrust of someone. So, if you're suspicious of someone, you distrust them. You are cautious around them. You're looking at them and wondering what they're up to. Suspicious. Having a cautious distrust of someone. So, after you write suspicious, a synonym could be distrust. And here is our quote. The way he, Herman E. Calloway, was so worried about me stealing stuff from him before he even knew if I was honest or not, make me wonder if someone who was so suspicious could ever be kin to me. So Herman E. Calloway was suspicious of Bud, thinking that he was going to steal stuff. And Bud resented that because he was like, he doesn't even know me. He doesn't even know if I'm honest or not. And he's already suspicious. He does not trust me. Next two pictures. What do you notice or see? I notice. Well, in the first picture, I notice it looks like a dad and his two kids. So they must be related. In the next picture, it looks like a family gathering, maybe a celebration at a meal. So, how are these pictures the same or similar? They both? Well, they both show, number six, kin. Kin. Kin means related, a relative or family member. Kin. Kin means related, a relative or family member. So, again, here is that quote. The way Herman E. Calloway, was so worried about me stealing stuff from him before he even knew if I was honest or not made me wonder if someone who was so suspicious could ever be kin to me or could ever be related to me. So, again, Bud is surprised that someone so suspicious could be related to him, could be kin to him. Listen closely. Chapter 15 refers to Grand Central Station. You don't need to write this down, but here is the quote. Now, Bud, Miss Thomas said, this is what we call Grand Calloway Station. So instead of Grand Central Station, they called Herman E. Calloway's house Grand Calloway Station. And that is the setting of chapter 5. So here's more of the quote. Mr. Calloway said a long time ago that there were so many different people in and out of here at so many different hours of the day and night that it reminded him of the train station in New York, Grand Central Station. That name kind of stuck, Miss Thomas. So, because there were so many people coming in and out of Herman E. Calloway's house because he had a big band, it reminded him of this Grand Central Station in New York City, which was also bustling and busy with people. So they called it the house Grand Calloway Station. And it's the setting of chapter 15. Now, a reminder, an idiom is a saying that has a completely different meaning than the actual words themselves. It's raining cats and dogs, so take your umbrella. So here is an idiom, kicked the bucket. Kicked the bucket. What does kicked the bucket mean? It means dead or having died. And here's a picture of someone who kicked the bucket. And it's kind of a funny picture because the person is laying down dead and there's a bucket on their head. So, kicked the bucket means dead or having died. And here is death, and he's kicking the bucket. So, here's the quote. It was strange, even though this was the bedroom of some little girl who'd kicked the bucket. I wasn't feeling scared or nervous at all. So Bud goes into a bedroom, and the bedroom used to belong to a girl. And Bud thinks that this girl kicked the bucket or was dead or had died. So, this is also the setting of chapter 15. So, Grand Calloway Station and the room where Bud stays, and it's the room of a girl who kicked the bucket. Number 8, the girl's room. The girl who kicked the bucket. The girl's room, the setting. So, Bud goes into detail about what the girl's room looked like. And this is again the setting for chapter 15. 15. The best thing in the whole room was one wall that was covered with pictures of some horses cut out of a bunch of magazines and stuck on the wall with thumbtacks. It looked like someone went through a lot of trouble to do it. Each picture was held up with 4 thumbtacks, and there were so many of them that they were like wallpaper from floor to ceiling. So here is Bud and Herman E. Calloway saying, "Don't touch anything in here." And then Bud describes the girl's room, and it was covered with pictures of horses, and the thumbtacks were like wallpaper. And when you say they were like something, that is a simile. So he's comparing the mini thumbtacks that were all over the wall it was like they were wallpaper. So you can write the girl's room was covered with pictures of horses, and the thumbtacks were like wallpaper. So the best thing in the whole room was one wall that was covered with pictures of some horses cut out of a bunch of magazines and stuck on the wall with thumbtacks. It looked like someone went through a lot of trouble to do it. Each picture was held up with 4 thumbtacks, and there were so many of them that they were like wallpaper from the floor to the ceiling. Number 9, the closet, also in the girl's room, the setting. So, how does he describe the closet? I would, except that those two little doors were starting to make me nervous. So he's looking at the closet and he's saying the doors to the closet are starting to make him nervous. They look like they were just the right size for a young Frankenstein or Wolfman to come busting out of once all the grown folks left the room. And since there was only one chair in the room, I wouldn't be able to block both of the doors off. So he thought that the doors to the closet was just the right size for young Frankenstein or Wolfman. So the closet was just the right size for young Frankenstein or Wolfman. So he was pretty scared and nervous when he looked at that closet in the girl's room, which again is the setting of chapter 15. So make sure you wrote the closet was just the right size for young Frankenstein or Wolfman. And finally, 10, putting a kid alone in a bedroom at night. Again, this is the setting. Putting a kid alone in a bedroom at night. I can never get why grown folks will put a kid all alone in a bedroom at night. It's just like they give the ghosts a treasure map. And instead of there being a big pot of gold where X marks the spot, there's some poor kid that's sound asleep. So while you finish writing putting a kid alone in a bed at night, I'm going to reread that quote. I can never get why grown folks will put a kid all alone in a bedroom at night. It's just like they give the ghosts a treasure map. And instead of there being a big pot of gold where X marks the spot, there's some poor kid that's sound asleep. So adults put a kid alone in a bedroom at night is just like giving ghosts a treasure map. And X marks the spot where the kid is sound asleep. So putting a kid alone in a bedroom at night is just like giving ghosts a treasure map. So he's pretty afraid because he's comparing first the closet to being the perfect size for young Frankenstein and Wolfman. And then he's saying being alone in a bedroom at night is just like giving ghosts a treasure map. And instead of X marks the spot for a pot of gold, there's X mark the spot with a poor kid that's sound asleep. Like, ghosts, come here and scare this kid. And that is a simile. Why? Because he is saying it's just like giving ghosts a treasure map. Okay, it is time to check your work for chapter 15, words 1 to 10. Herman E. Calloway was huffing and puffing like the big bad wolf, and Herman E. Calloway looked like he'd eaten the three little pigs because his belly was so big. Number two, snooping around. Snooping around means spying, going through another person's things without permission. Number three, Bud Caldwell. Number one was not stupid. Number two was honest, does not steal. And Bud Caldwell, number three, was a liar, but not a thief. So he wasn't stupid, he wasn't a thief, and he wasn't, uh, those are both thief pictures. But he was a liar. He did admit to being a liar. Number four, scamp, and that's a troublemaker or a child that causes trouble. Number five, suspicious, having a cautious distrust of someone. So if you don't have all of the synonyms or short definitions or how Hermione Calloway and Bud Caldwell were described, I need you to push pause. Make sure you have all five of these words and phrases. And then in the second column, I want you to write down a synonym or a word that means the same. And for Hermione Calloway, I want you to tell me one way he was described, and Bud, how he described himself. And then in the third column, you can draw a quick picture or sketch. So what you need to do is push pause, make sure you have all five words and phrases, a synonym in the second column, and a quick picture or sketch in the third. When you're finished with that, you can push play. Number six is kin, related, or a relative or family member. Number seven, kick the bucket. That means dead or having died. Number eight, the girl's room was covered with pictures of horses, and the thumbtacks were like wallpaper. And number 9, the closet was just the right size for young Frankenstein or Wolfman. And number 10, putting a kid home alone in a bedroom at night is like giving ghosts a treasure map. So, and oh, I'm going to go back. What you need to do is push pause. Make sure you have all of these 5 words for 6 to 10 and a short definition or how Bud described the girl's room, the closet, and being alone in the room. And then have a quick picture or sketch for each. And then when you're finished, push play. So let's reflect. I can use pictures and context clues to help me understand important words and phrases from chapter 15 of Bud Not Buddy. Would you give yourself a 4? I could teach this lesson. I wrote all the words, I wrote all the synonyms, and I drew all the sketches. Or would you give yourself a 3? I could help others with this lesson. I wrote all the words, I wrote all the synonyms, I drew all the sketches. Or would you give yourself a 2? I understood and completed some. I wrote some of the words, I wrote some synonyms, and I drew some sketches. Or would you give yourself a 1? I understood and completed little. I wrote little to no words, I wrote little to no synonyms, and I drew little to no sketches. So right on the top of your paper, how do you think you did? Reflect. Did you earn a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1? All right, everybody. Thank you for doing the lesson with me for chapter 15 and all the wonderful words and phrases. And have a great day.